All right, good morning, all. My name is Sirod. Welcome to another episode of 20 to 40. I'm back with the cast, Aubrey, Steven. Follow us on social media. We got the Spotify up, the YouTube up, the Instagram. I'll be putting in work, so go check me out. We'll start the episode off by just introducing ourselves a little bit in detail, a little bit right now. So for everybody who didn't catch episode, I believe 2 or 3, I was a federal police officer for 15 years. I'm technically retired. If you don't know what we do, we work pretty much what SDPD or LAPD do, just on the military base. So I got a lot of experience there. I made it to the top of the police department, so I was hiring people, firing people, promoting people. So my experience with checking resumes and trying to pick the right candidate is pretty extensive. I went to the #1 leadership school in the world at the FBI Academy. I was there for 3 months, so pretty much every captain and lieutenant of, again, LAPD, Miami PD or whatever, like we all go there. It's like 300 of us. We just learn from each other and, steal some leadership skills. I went to SDSU with Aubrey. I went to high school with Steven. And then we all just kind of hung out in our mid-20s. And that's why we're here right now, from 20 to 40, just talking about our lives and what kind of changed. Real estate agent, life insurance agent, entrepreneur, over $100,000 in businesses, married and got a 3-year-old. So that's me. And I'll let these guys kind of introduce themselves.
Let's get it. What's up, you guys? I'm Aubrey. Man, super excited for just as we continuing on this journey. For me, I'm a father. Been married almost 12 years now, which is crazy. I'm also a physical therapist, an investor and trader in the stock market. I'm also an entrepreneur, right? Built a fitness and nutrition business to about 7 million at our peak, 7 figures, 1.5. In sales in 1 year. And then we had some challenges after COVID, had to pivot. So really learn from the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights. And, just really excited to share that we're already 40 and like the whole things that you learn from 20 and 40. We've been really appreciating the feedback and the learning and the sharing, all that stuff, whether it's the social media handles or you're sharing the link to the episode, we really appreciate it. Let's get it.
Hey, what's up? My name's Steven. I'm an attorney. I did 4 years in the Air Force from about 2006, 2010. Once I got out, I went back to school. I went here to Minot State University, got my bachelor's in history with a concentration in African American studies. And then I went to law school, became an attorney. I'm married. I have 2 daughters. One is 13, and one's about to be 3. So yeah, and then I'm a retail trader, so I hold GameStop, and yeah, it's I just enjoy coming on here and just letting everybody know, my perspective and what I've learned throughout the years, and then it's always been good to get back and chopping it up with Aubrey and Sirod here and catching up like the old times. So that's me.
Let's get it.
All right. Now that we're done with that shit. And so normally we get on here, there's some pretty softball topics, we can I agree with that. I agree with that, Today I'm hoping to spark some debate. Earlier this week, these 2 niggas came at me pretty hard. All right? Yeah, they knew this was coming. What's wrong with you, man? You all right? Yeah. So we're going to talk about, and I kind of changed the topic to conformity and kind of censorship. That's going to be the title of it, because I do want to educate the youth on how that works. But what happened was basically these cats were looking at, the future of what we're doing with the podcast. And the topic of saying the word nigga, swear words in general, but the topic of saying the word nigga came up. And I'm like, yo, like we already discussed this, like, right, this should be part of the, the authenticity of the show. And I'll let these 2 gentlemen explain, their perspective on it. But where I was coming from, and it was kind of hard to explain in the group chat, was, and Steven kind of sparked this question and kind of pissed me off. But basically, it was a good question, because he was like, if you stop saying the word nigga, like, is it that hard? And like, can't you, like, do you say it at work? And I was like, damn, like, that's a really good question, because I don't, right? Like, we don't say the word nigga or swear out of, like a sailor at work, But also when I was a cop, I had to shave. I couldn't wear my earrings. I had to wear a uniform. Steven, when he was in the Air Force, he had to wear a uniform. In HR, where I work now for the Navy, I can't just show up in shorts. I can't wear flip-flops. So the question kind of bothered me because I was like, of course there's times where you conform and you have to, kind of censor yourself or your style, whatever. But on my damn podcast is not one of them. And that's the whole point of starting your own shit. And so that's where I, kind of pause right there and start with the youth and then let these cats talk. Where it's just like, I just want you to know, like, yes, there are going to be times where you shouldn't be out there saying nigga. You shouldn't be wearing a hoodie. You shouldn't be, just doing the things that you want to do. But if you're going to create your own space, and that's what I thought I was doing here, I want to talk the way I want to talk. I want to do whatever I want to do. And in the long run, I feel like that's going to make me happy. And that would be my advice to anybody who's starting their own thing is create it within yourself, because in the long run, if you're kind of conforming to something to make people happy on something you create, not the Department of the Navy or the Department of Air Force or something like that, on something you create, I think you'll have long-term success and happiness. So I'll pause right there and let one of these two niggas tell me their perspective on that.
Oh my God. Well, I'll let Steven start out because you kind of talked about that background about, he asked that question, which was a really good question. So Steven,
It was.
I'll let you jump in.
So first, let me start off by saying I do not care if you want to say the word nigga. That was never what it was. Okay. The question was literally do we want to try to monetize like that? That's what it is. And the reason why I say that is because if there's certain things you do, you cannot be monetized. And one of those things is saying nigga. So I asked, hey, Aubrey brings up a good point. What do we want to do? What are we trying to do with it? And we can't. And then just the pushback that you gave from it, I'm just like, is it that big of a word to you? Like, do you really want to be that nigga? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's cool. Like, if you want to, that's cool. Like, and I don't care either way. Like, I don't care. So, but then when I ask you that, and it's just like, do you, like, why we have this is fun or whatever, what are we trying to do with it? How are we trying to grow it? What's the next steps and levels, to get on this with the podcast? It's just like, nigga, are you really trying to throw growth away for a word that you just can't say for what's our longest one, 40 minutes? So it's just, so then I was getting pissed off because I'm like, nigga, that's the only word you know. You can't call me bro or this dude. And I get it.
Is that how we talk though? Is that how we talk?
I understand. I understand that word also can be used many different ways with inflection and tone to be very funny. And I get that. But I was just like, is it that big of a word that we can't just say it? Because I definitely can't say it to when I go to court and be like, what up? What up? What's up in here, everybody? Because then they will throw my ass out the courthouse. So, that was my thing. So that's
and I'll let you go, Aubrey. So when Kevin Hart hosts the Oscars, is he saying nigga? But when he's doing his stand-up, isn't he saying, help me, nigga, right? There is a time and a place. That's his own space he created. If he takes nigga out that joke, we ain't talking about Kevin Hart as one of the best. That was my point. It wasn't about saying it at work or can't say it to make money. Plenty of niggas is making money off saying nigga. They're called rappers and comedians and all kinds of shit. So I'm like, why are they messing with our space? Like, what's going on? That's obviously through text we couldn't, get that through. But that's why I was like, I was just saving for the episode and we can all get our perspective out. But Aubrey,
yeah. So, like some cats might not know, right? Because some cats might be like, you look Middle Eastern, so when I use the word nigga, it might get misconstrued. You never know. So,
both you niggas need to stop saying that.
But so I'll tell you where I was coming from. So I know this nigga, Sirod, is money motivated. I know that. And I want this podcast to keep going on because I like kicking it. Like I said previously, like we have to work all week. I live in Florida now, so a lot of my tight homies down the street, they're really not, right? So like I get great time with my wife, but you still need friend time, just like she loves her friend time. So I was like, yo, I really want this thing to go. And I just know how Sirod is. One time, if it's not popping off, he just might be like, you know what? I want to sleep in. And I'm like, damn, now we don't got the pocket. But I know if we get him some money coming in, right? Sirod gonna be like, oh, where we at? I'm here 5 minutes early. I just know how Sirod's gonna do, right? Because I wanted it to keep going. So I was like, what are some things we're growing it? And Stephen did have a good point because some people are just, and it's understandable. some people just have a certain feeling around the word nigga. And I get it because it makes some people uncomfortable because they don't know if they can say it in a rap song. They don't know if they'll be like, say their friend hears them listening to this podcast and that word is on here. Does that mean something about them? I just get it. Right. So really it was like, sometimes you are going to have to play the game. And I understand that in my physical therapy business, right? I can't roll into my patient's house or in the hospital setting or any setting and use language like that. I just can't. I have to change my voice. Even one thing I learned doing sales is like tonality is key. I've got to change my voice in the way I talk, the pitch of my voice, how I stand, because a lot of things can be taken aggressive, and it's just we got to play the game because that's how the game is played. I have a friend too who's in, in business, and one time I heard him on the phone, I was like, bro, you sound white, because his whole voice had changed. And I didn't understand at the time, but I was like, wow, he's really smart because he works in, a sector that's very highly white. And for him to be successful in there, he does have to play the game. And then when we're chilling together, he talks different. I'm like, okay, I get that. That's unconsciously, and this is actually funny, but it is like there's a Dave Chappelle skit about it, like where he talks about, keeping it real goes wrong. And this is a bigger thing. As a minority, you have to play like a double think, right? Because the main game isn't your game. You didn't create it. You didn't create the rules. You don't create the culture. You don't create the norms, right? Even though I don't know if anybody's watched Loved Island, but a girl was thrown off for saying her eyes
Oh
were
yeah, my
chinky.
wife told me that's some bullshit.
And I'm like,
That's
I
some
don't know if
bullshit.
that's really like, she was just mean.
Yeah,
Like, what if she said her eyes look slanted? Would that still have been like, that still could be
bro.
construed as
They're
racist?
tripping. They're
My lips
tripping.
are big. My lips are too big. So I like that could be construed. My lips are too small. Like,
Now you're crossing the line.
so yeah. So like niggas not too much, but chinky, was okay. I get it. I get it. But I think it's also just as a minority, you got to understand what game you're playing. And yeah, I get it. We want to chill and we want to have fun here. And so we want to talk in kind of almost like our native tongue. It's like you learned your first language and this was a part of it. Because when we are together, it all flows. But then just understanding like what game we're playing. And hopefully we can play the game where just us being our authentic self can still grow and still get to a place where this does maybe go somewhere so we can keep it going. Like, I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool? So if we grew it to a place where like, man, we meet up in like Miami and rent out a podcast studio because it's growing like that. And we get to spend a week just making episodes and hanging out. Right. But that means it's got to be growing to a place to create the space because at this point in time, you have to also be creating income from things that are taking up your time because this time taken away is taken up from your family and other streams of potential income. So that was really where I was coming from with it.
No, you're 1000% right. Go ahead, Steven.
And that's exactly what I was trying to say in the group chat, right? Is I get that you have to code switch, right? Like that's what it is. It's code switching. That as I work in one of the professions that have the lowest African American race in it, right? And then not only that, but just like even when you look at African American men, right? Like how much more it drops off, right? Like there's not a lot of African American men in some professions. And I have to code switch, right? In order for me to actually have the dialogue in which I need to have the dialogue in and talk about, which is the law, which is written how many, the founding of this country, right? Like it all builds on itself. It all talks. And some laws older than others, and some have been, so I have to, you know what I mean? And it's not to say that I'm not still authentically me, because when I talk, the words I use are an embodiment of who I am. And because their vocabulary could be huge. The words in the dictionary are a lot. And so make the words be who you are, right? And yes, do I say nigga? Yeah, I play video games. You know what I'm saying? I play with a lot. I play with the homies on video games. That's how I get my connection, right? With outside of the house other than family time. So I get it, but it's just like and some people, right? And I'm not saying this is you, and because when we were talking about this, I was thinking about this, and it's just like some people really just feel they can say it wherever, whenever they want, because that is their right, and I can say free speech, right? And I'm like, that is true. You can go for it, say it wherever you want, but don't think that when you talk to people and you use it in certain ways in a public setting where there's not a lot of niggas, right? What do you think the feedback is going to be to you, right? Like you have to take it that extra step. So it is not about you being black or whatever. It's not about that. It's some people just don't want the word, any of the word used, whether it's the hard R or with the A. They don't want to hear it at all. And that's their prerogative if they don't want to hear it. So you also have to move within a world that a lot of people don't like to hear it and they don't want to be around it. And that's fine. And can I respect spaces? I can respect spaces because I hope they respect spaces when I'm there regardless. And that's why some place, time and place, I feel like there's a certain, and I get with us in this podcast, yes, like I understand how hard it is because I have to try to think hard on myself on not saying it on the podcast, right? Just because, and it may slip here and there because it is YouTube. Like you guys are the homies. Like, so it's one of those things. So I totally understand, but I just always want people to understand that, however you portray yourself, and that's not to say you have to chuck and jive for anybody. You can be who you want to be and act the way you want to act, but just know how you are perceived. It's not this is who you are, but how you are perceived, that is how people treat people. And it sucks. It shouldn't happen, but that is the world in which we live in. And I just like to try to move. I'm rocking marathon everywhere I go. I'm rocking marathon and J's when I'm not in court and not working. That's what I'm rocking when I'm going everywhere. And I just want people to respect me. That doesn't mean I'm any type of way, but you're going to respect me. But I'm also going to respect myself and my family when I'm out moving about, that I can just move freely in these spaces. Because I do live in North Dakota, which is predominantly white. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out. I'm just trying to go out, have a good time, and come home. That's it.
Yeah. No, so I mean, Aubrey, I'll touch on something you said because that's possibly where the disconnect was. Like personally, I'd rather in this space right now, I'd rather not make money if I'm gonna wake up at 8 a.m. on the only weekend barely time I have. I work 7 days a week. So the only time I really get to sleep in a little bit because I got to wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., drive down to San Diego. So if I'm gonna wake up, no, I'm not trying to think hard to not say something. Like I'm just not going to do that. I'd personally rather be happy than make money right now with this, at least for now. But obviously, if you call me, Aubrey, and go, yo, there's somebody interested in sponsoring us, but they heard some swear words and all that, I'd be like, well, nigga, show me the money. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, but ultimately, my goal is to get that money and then go create another podcast where I can't fucking curse. Because I'm gonna tell you, how many niggas you think listen to Joe Rogan? Let's look at that top 5 list of podcasts out there. How many niggas do you think are listening to any of that? So where do we get our spaces where you can actually listen to cats who sound like them, talk about like them, and have conversations that they can relate to? Because I damn sure don't give a shit about aliens smoking weed or whatever the hell Joe Rogan talks about. I don't listen to any of that stuff. So when you had Cam and Mace come out, I was like, oh, thank you, right? When you have even Stephen A. Smith, who goes from First Take, where he's censored, to his own podcast where he's saying, you fat motherfucker, to Jason Whitlock, I'm like, yo, I can get down with this because this is a little bit more authentic. I think he's Queens or Brooklyn, Stephen A. Smith. So that's really where I'm like, the happiness has to, outweigh it at some point. I've had hundreds of thousands of views on my videos, right? I got rape jokes. I make fun of special needs people. I got all kinds of stuff. I ain't into that woke shit, man. And so that's why I think y'all struck a chord, because I'm like, nigga, that's y'all limit, nigga, because y'all really don't want to hear me talk no more compared to like what I used to do. I still talk that way because this shit's ridiculous. My favorite comedians are the ones who talk about abortion, rape, and babies and all that. You know why? Because everybody's so fucking sensitive. And it just really rubs me the wrong way that we can't have that freedom of speech and understand that it's a joke. They're trying to make light of something bad so that we can continue to smile in this world instead of everything's bombs here and death there and war here. So I'm still very adamant about that. Obviously, I don't plan on bringing some of this shit up here, but this ain't the space. But my space, when I write my jokes, when I do my parodies, go peep my YouTube. I work HR and I was a cop and I was making parodies about cocaine. So don't talk to me about censorship or anything. Like I never gave a shit and I didn't plan on starting now.
I feel you. And you know what? I'm down with the fun. So that's what I really want to do. I just wanted to keep it going. And the biggest thing is, if you can be authentic to yourself and still provide value, I think it could still grow. And I think there is also just understanding that, and this kind of goes back to Stephen's point, is that the way you talk, people are going to reflect back to you what you talk to them about and how you talk to them. So it's kind of like understanding that, like, you know, we might be niching down our crowd a little bit, which is cool. That's what we want to do. It's going niching down just means like we bringing it down to a certain amount of people that want to listen to it out of the bigger group, which when this is just being kind of like a project or something fun that we do is cool. Right. And maybe later down we do shift and say, hey, we want to broaden it out and open it up because we want to hit more people. I think it's just also understanding what you're doing it for. And you know what? Just having some stuff that you do for fun, I think is important. So like making sure that, you know, it is authentic to you, which I'm certainly totally cool with, and just keep it like it is and keep flowing and going. And maybe there is no ever sponsorships, which wasn't the intentional purpose. We didn't start
for sure.
like, yo, let's
I still think y'all sound paranoid. I mean, as you say that, I'm thinking of all the people who joke the way I still like to joke and are literally with the masses. I mean, Chappelle's show was not watered down at all. I think everything I just named, he made fun of. Kevin Hart,
but one
and I'm
thing
talking
I
black
think
people,
though
not
is
white
the
people.
difference though is, and I'm thinking about with everybody, they didn't start off like that. They kind of got their base.
Like 50 Cent started off saying, you know, you a wankster, I'll shoot you in your face. And then he turned into Candy Shop. So all I'm saying is, of course, there can be change later on, but they all started off.
50 Cent came in off the gangster role, though. That's not really, this ain't a gangster podcast.
I'm not a gangster. I'm saying the way I talk.
You a wankster, I know.
On episode 9, when we ain't really done shit. But yeah, on episode 55, you're right. I might get into my, like, you know, Candy Shop phase where I'm singing to the ladies. I got you. But episode 9, y'all niggas is already trying to change. With like, yo, man, I gotta not say fuck. Like, what? What are we doing? Like,
okay. No one is trying.
Nobody said don't curse. We just said
that. Right. We're not even trying to.
We're not even trying to go on and get sponsored by Sesame Street, bro. We're not trying to get sponsored by Blue's Clues.
Yeah, that's the same shit.
Said that.
But this is the thing, right? And I agree with you. And this is the funny part. I actually agree with Sirod. Like, I agree with him. I actually agree that I actually like doing this for fun. So for the monetization part, I was actually on board with you. Your reasoning for the monetization part is where you lost me, because I actually enjoy doing this because this is fun. I enjoy the fact that we're really just talking about our life experiences and trying to give game to people to try to help them out and just try to see if they can think of or find different ways or avenues or perspectives to hear that might help them grab something. And so and to me, like I said it, I don't care. I don't care if you want to say it, if you don't. I'm not trying to censor nobody. I'm not here for censorship. I'm not woke. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, bro, I'm trying to tell you to but it's your choice. You could do whatever it is that you want to do. No one's telling you. All I'm saying is be yourself. You could do whatever you want to do. Speak any way you want to speak. But that doesn't mean people have to then engage with you on a respectful manner or any type of manner that they deem to fit, because they can then uncensor themselves around you too. And they don't have to play by those conformity rules, which is cool. People don't have to conform. You don't have to. I'm just saying we live in a society where mutual respect is what the bedrock is. At least that's what I practice. So when I go out in the world, I'm not going to disrespect nobody. And at the same time, I expect not to be disrespected by anyone. And so if that happens, then by all means, if I disrespect you, please come check me. It won't happen because I'm not disrespectful. But if you disrespect me, I will check you, right? That's all I'm saying is I don't care if we want to use it. I just think we should tell people this is the 20 to 40 podcast, right? What we have learned from 20, now we are 40. I'm telling you, when I was 20, I would say nigga a lot everywhere. And then I joined the military and realized I can't say nigga at all at work. You know what I'm saying? That didn't stop us when we kicked it, right?
Yeah.
But then now I'm saying, hey, you know what? You know, it kind of like Cat Williams, right? When he was talking about people smoking weed, right? Like, hey man, if you ain't got no good job and you ain't got nothing to do, I don't know what you doing with yourself, right? Like, why aren't you smoking weed? But if you got a good job, I get it. I think we should treat nigga the same way, right? Like, if you ain't got nothing going on, sure, go ahead, do whatever it is you want to do. But if you want to be successful and you want to do all this thing, and you're not a comedian or an entertainer or whatever, you're a person that's really trying to get a professional job and communicate with people in professional settings. That's not to say, hey man, like, but you can't. You just can't. I can't go to certain places in my job and just say negative people. It's not happening, and it won't happen. Because if I do, then it reflects on me using the word,
But
because they don't
that's
use the
the
word
apples to
in the
oranges.
face.
That's the apples to oranges. That's why I started off by saying I was a cop for 15 years. No earrings. You must shave. Wear a uniform. Shine your boots. You were in the Air Force, and Aubrey, you spoke to some examples. This ain't that. So I don't know why we're comparing the apples to oranges. There is not a rapper out there that doesn't have 700,000 fans buying their music, where they're saying whatever they want, talking about selling drugs, whatever. There is a fan base for all of this stuff. So what I'm saying is, why would we start navigating a certain route that wouldn't naturally be us? Because we don't know what our fan base is. You're talking about niching it down. I think we're niching it up. I think there's a bunch of people that finally a podcast where people talk like me. There's a bunch of people who don't listen to podcasts. I think it's the opposite, to be honest.
I feel you. I think authenticity always wins in the end. And I feel you. I feel you on that. Maybe there is a world where it's like, yo, it was that authentic. It struck a chord and people really felt it. So I get what you're coming from. And I do think in your personal projects, something that you are doing for you and that you want to have be about what you really enjoy doing. Because there's going to be a difference in the world. There's going to be a lot of things in life where you got to do, not necessarily because you want. I don't necessarily go to work because I want to, right? It's not like I wake up in the morning like, yo, I can't wait to do this. I enjoy it, and there's a difference. But there's going to be things that, and I think this is also a part of the journey as you grow. Your time when you're younger, I feel like there was a lot more time to do things we actually wanted. Like we got to go play ball together, joke around together, hang out and clown together, right? And then as the work starts to come in, you got to get one job, two jobs, and then, you're tired after. Then you got to maybe a partner in the family. So your time to do the things you really want to do starts to go from this to like, it does start to shrink. Right. So I get that. And I think the most important thing is, maybe like you talked about, really setting up a place to do things you really want to do. And when you do them authentically you, and not be so attached. Like you got to be okay in your other parts of life where this doesn't have to work out like that. Like maybe it's like painting. You really like to paint. You stop painting. But maybe you want to paint some things about, you grew up in an area where there were some traumatic things. There were some shootings or there was some, dads cheating on moms, and you want to paint that, and it's not necessarily the most appropriate topic, but it's like something that's appropriate to you. You're right. Maybe there is a lot of like crowd for that because people do go through that stuff. So I get that. I think it does go back to a little bit of, people do get really sensitive around certain things that they could be deemed a certain way, kind of like going back to the, chinky eyes from Love Island. Like I think there was also a girl earlier in that season that got she Cuban or something. And I think she said nigga, and she got taken off. Right. And we're at a time where a lot of people listen to hip hop. Hip hop and rap is the #1 music genre. Right. Athletes are, 60-70% Black. Right. Entertainers. So
you hear them off camera. You see them do their little podcast and all that stuff. They all of a sudden, I mean, I think Drewski, when they did Kevin Hart and Kai's thing, and they called LeBron, and Drewski's like, yo, when Bron started saying nigga? Like, that's how shocked he was. But it's like, he a nigga from fucking, Akron. Like, this is how he talks when the cameras aren't on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, being authentic off camera, that made me go, damn, Bron, I forgot. Like, I am more relatable than you being a billionaire. I am more relatable to you than what I think sometimes, just because when we're with our friends, this is how we all talk. That relatability, goes a long way. We can wrap up this topic a little bit. I do want you guys to talk to people who struggle with the physical therapy world or the attorney world, because I'll go with the law enforcement and HR world. That young individual, there's really no race or color to it, but they love their Jordans, or they love wearing their baseball hat or their baseball jersey. You can't wear that into a courtroom. And I know that I was struggling with the shaving part when I worked adjacently with the military. I wasn't in, but I worked with them every single day. And they're like, yo, you got to cut your face. And I'm like, and get all them bumps and stuff. We going to the club tonight. Like, what are you talking about? And it really hampered my first 4 or 5 years because I was beefing over shine your boots and all this other stuff that I didn't fully understand. So how do you help somebody conform to, again, not just the hip hop clothes, but the cowboy hat or just whatever style they have on their own, but now they're entering a certain, career and they have to adjust that and they can only do that on the weekends. How do you help them cope with that for their long-term success?
Yeah, I went through this in physical therapy school in grad school, in my class, because you kind of go through with a class, it was like 30, 35 of us. We went through all like, all of our trimesters together.
I
And
remember.
it was literally me, one other black kid, one black guy, and one Mexican guy, right? I think he was Mexican. And the rest was white, right? So, we were very highly visible. And I remember because I always felt like you just know you're the only, and you can tell the eyes are on you because you just stick out naturally. And I think one of the things I had to learn from that is that you are going to stand out when you are different, and you have to be okay with that. And you got to also not take it personally, because once you take it personally, it's going to just hamper and hinder your performance. And you also got to remember what you're in the game for. And the ultimate game is to get to the success you wanted, to be able to then play on your terms. I feel like you got to learn to play on other people's terms first before you can play on your terms. When people try to come in and play on their terms, I feel like, sometimes out of a freak, like freak accident, sometimes it'll work, but most of the times it doesn't, because you don't have the experience, right? They kind of say you got to know the rules before you can break the rules. You can't come in trying to break the rules. You got to understand the rules, master the rules, then you can break the rules. Like Picasso couldn't come in and just say, yo, I'm going to paint every which way I want. No, he had to learn the basics of, color, shading, like dimensions, and then he could go on and mastery and change the game. And I feel like that's one of the things, like, you got to understand, even if it's in communication and language. I feel like when people talk lazy and slang outside of their group, people then will look at you as a lazy person or a not as intelligent person. And it's not even necessarily something they say outright. It'll just be a subconscious thing because of movies and Instagram and popular culture shows that as a person. Like, I remember we were watching, not to go back to Love Island, but they show these commercials, and there's a commercial for Love After Lockup. And I'm like, I'm just so tired, because the most of the time you see, let's say black people, it's like ghetto, like child, like they need child care help, they need help from the state, and they got locked up and drugged. I'm like, that's the only thing people see,
Yeah.
right? So when they hear you talking like that, it's just programmed. They don't even mean it. It's just programmed into their, this is how they are. They are. And you got to understand that's just a game, not that we like want to play, it's you have to play it. So master it first, come in, remember what you're going in for. Like when I was going in PT, I was like, I'm going through this so I can get this career so I can make great income to be able to provide for my family. Now I'm on the other side of that, right? I know how to speak 2 languages. I can speak Spanish too. So now I'm more valuable to the marketplace. I can beef up my income to where it's at right now, right? And then I can take that income to create freedom, financial freedom, so that soon, one day I'll drop to part-time and then no time, because now I've won the game on my terms, because my family's set up, taken care of. And now I can be however I want to be, because I'm financially free, but I had to play the game first. I couldn't do that at 19, be like, yo, I want to talk however I want. Well, you just fired, and now you broke at home.
Oh, y'all niggas is whack. It's like, get out, man. Get out.
But this is the thing, okay? Like, it's a catch-22. When you think of race and you think of whatever you're going to experience when it comes to conforming, right? It's a catch-22, because if you speak a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way, then they're going to look at you as, oh, you're dumb and you're stupid. But then the catch-22 is, okay, say you are exceptional and you do all the great things and you're the best in your field and you do all this stuff. And then what do they say? You're not like the rest of them, right? So either way you get it, it doesn't really matter, right? Doesn't matter. Just know it's there, right? People are always going to judge people. That's just nature of human beings, right? Not everyone does it. I don't judge people. I take people as they are, right? Like that's how, but you have to be okay with yourself. You have to know who you are and be authentically you. If you're a black person that likes rock and roll or grunge or emo or whatever, just because you're black doesn't mean you can't be that, right? You can be and do whatever it is that you want to be or do. And it doesn't matter what your race is. That's really and like Aubrey said, it's just media telling you what they believe, whether it's beauty or just look at the people that they push to you, okay? Look at all the people they push to you and how they're no morally superior than you are. You know what I'm saying? They may be less so, okay? When you get into these spaces, and this is what I had to do, like especially, I went to school in North Dakota, so there wasn't a lot of black people, and the black people you saw were what the athletes, right? That's always the stereotype of when you see black people in college. Oh, you're an athlete, where you play, or what, and then it's just like, no, I want to get an education. Is that okay? Like, am I okay just to come here and learn about history? Is that cool? I like that. And then, but even that jump from when I was in college and even in the military, right? In the military, I was still, anyone that knows me knows you really can't tell me anything. I'm going to do what it is I want to do. You can request something, but that request can be denied, right? In learning that it's okay, like, stop being so emotional over stuff. Like, I was angry a lot when I was younger. I was really angry. And so that sometimes your emotion of anger may override your brain actually comprehending and thinking of a way out that it isn't an emotional response, it's a logical response, right? And that's what I love about what I do. But understanding and being logical over emotional allows you to process situations differently that people are expecting you to emotionally react to. That's why they still call people niggers, right? Because they're wanting an emotional response to make you look exactly how they know you're going to look when you say it. And then that is what people say, not the word, not the person that's being racist, but your emotional response to the racism. Doesn't matter if you say it or not. They're just violent people. They're going to attack you, right? It's just the word. It's just the word, right? With no historical context or anything. But okay, you got to be smarter and you got to be outthink it, because what does it do for you to emotionally lash out and then have the police called, or something happens where you're then ejected out of something, right? So you just have to think about what you're putting out, and because all you can control is you. You can't control anyone else around you. So if you could control yourself, your emotions and your thoughts, and just thinking of better ways to just interact with people, and even if that means leaving the situation. A lot of us, when we are younger, do not leave situations. We try to make the other person back down. It's okay to back down. I'm 40 years old. I'm telling you right now, I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting nobody no more. It's over, right? If I will defend myself. So if you want to attack me, I will defend myself. But I'm not knocking anybody out or pursuing the aggression anymore. If I can leave because I have a family and a job and all these important things, I'm gonna leave, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to anybody else but me that I get home safe and my family, right? You have to always think about that. You always have to think of yourself as the most important person. You're not going to do yourself any good being in front of a judge on criminal charges or in jail or dead, because everyone in America has guns now. Like, we have the most guns. So you have to control your emotions, because people are just looking for reasons. I live in North Dakota. I'm telling you, if it's like that in North Dakota, where people can just open, constitutional carry out here, you don't need no cards and stuff. I have my uh, uh, concealed carry permit because I'm carrying everywhere I go. You ain't gonna find me without a strap. So you guys always talking about, you ain't from Compton. I got one in the car and I got a shotgun in the crib. You tripping? I'm not playing out here. I'm not playing. But I'm just saying, you have to not. You prepare for the worst, but you just gotta. I wish I knew this when I was younger. You just gotta control your emotions and try to think your way out of things. You just got to. And just
You just confused the
back
shit out
away,
of me.
back away. That is what I would give people.
He went from "I ain't gonna fight" to "I'll shoot your head off with my shotty." Like, I'm like, what is he talking about? He's like, I'll walk away, but I'll blast your ass if you get too close.
I'll walk away, and as I walk away, I'll blast you. Don't
Yeah, like, wait,
that.
what? I
Just
mean,
because I'm turned don't mean I can't shoot.
Y'all niggas crazy, man. Y'all niggas crazy.
oh man, for me, obviously being a cop, and again, the reason I didn't want to look up numbers and us knowing the topics is because, like, I don't want numbers. All right, this is my experience. If there's more black firefighters than the numbers that I say, good for them. From what I've seen, ain't no black firefighters. There was always 3 or 4 of us on the police force, but sometimes I'd be the only one in the room because 3 or 4 of us spread out throughout the day shift, night shift, and all that stuff. So yeah, early on I had to learn And you're right, Stephen. The emotional part, like I would just get so mad at everything, man. I was so young, and I'm like, I went to SDSU. Don't talk to me like this. My mom's the chief warrant officer. Don't talk to me like that. And I'm like, nobody cares. I almost said these niggas don't. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cared. So ultimately, it did become the best pressure for me to realize like they don't care. So handle your business, handle your emotions, and that just made it. I mean, just brighter days, man. Then I made it all the way to the top, and now it's like, now you're in my eyes. And I know not everybody saw it that way, but whatever, man. Society makes me think, it makes them think, but then it makes me think that they think like, oh, the black guy made it to the top. It's just weird. But obviously in our spaces, you find out who's your friends. I hang out with everybody. But I love being the highest ranking person for a very long time in these rooms, sitting in front of these guys, and being able to direct them. As that black dude that, yeah, my first couple weeks in the academy, I wore a do rag. Now, for those who don't know, and you're listening to this, do rag can be associated with some gangster shit. But really, it's to get my hair flat, right? Throw in some grease, make it flat, and it looks 10 times better. Trust me. But I walk in, I'm early, mind you. They barely said shit to people who were showing up late. I'm early, sitting there waiting to get started, and my dude goes, "Go walk in the back and go talk to the guy running the academy." And I'm like, "All right, cool." I get ready to take off the do rag. He's like, "No, leave it on." I'm like, what? What the fuck? And he's like, yeah, you want to wear gangster stuff in here? You want to be a gangster? Go in the back. And I'm like, man, I almost wanted to fight this dude. And that would have look, if that had happened in 2009, I wouldn't be here where I'm at today. But I just took it off. I got what he was trying to say. I was like, I kind of wore my gangster shit to the police academy, and I'm thinking like, bro, we're still in our training uniforms. But I'm like, I just want my hair to look good, bro. It ain't all this gangster stuff. So, a couple other examples I wrote down was while I'm on the freeway going to work, it's an hour drive. Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, a little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll. And then when I pull up to downtown, I roll down the windows, and now you got, Kanye and whatever. So this shit's all fake. You know what I'm saying? But I think keeping your emotions in check. My advice, that was the question. My advice to you is, I don't want to steal from you, but keep your emotions in check. Understand, like Aubrey said, you do have a bigger goal. And when you get there, it does feel great. And you do realize as you move up, people start to respect you past what they see. But we do that with everybody, man. If I see an Indian dude, I'm like, there's certain professions you think he's doing. If I see an Asian lady, I'm like, nurse, this, that. I mean, this is what we do. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's just so I can spark the conversation. Somebody was like, well, I got mad because this dude walked up to me and was like, how's that new Jay-Z album? I don't listen to Jay-Z. I listen to country. I'm like, well, that's not a bad guess. You're a black dude. I mean, if he walked up to you and said, how's that Keith Urban album? I think, why would he go there? Most black dudes know who Jay-Z is and might know his music. It's keep your emotions in check. Everybody's not out to eat you and kill you and destroy you. It's just the world we live in. There's certain stereotypes that are just there so we can kind of build upon. And when people found out I went to SCSU, when people found out my mom was a chief warrant officer, their attitude changed. But that's because they're like, oh wow, this on TV they show guys that look like Sirod as this. But now that I talk to him for 2 minutes, I see he's that, and now I'm gonna change the way I act around him. But I was like, oh, now you want to talk to me, huh? It's like, relax, man, relax. So that would be my advice. Just keep your emotions in check. Figure out the goal you want. Try to get there, and don't get all wrapped up in small things. The N word, nigger with the ER, never bothered me. Just like when I was younger, and yo mama never bothered me. Though, like you said, Stephen, that's just people trying to get a rise out of you. Okay, it's just not. Don't let that stuff happen either, man. So I did want to point that out because I know too many people who will lose a career, get shot, get killed, all kinds of bad things because somebody said a word, and it's like don't put yourself in that position. So, any closing thoughts on any of that stuff?
No, solid episode. This was actually a great topic. So,
I would say I just quick, give people grace too, right? Like sometimes people really don't know. And that's just the honest truth. Like I've met tons of people where was like one of the first black people they knew, and they would say one of the big things is boy, right? And like that usually is a trigger for me. But just know some people, they don't mean it that way. And once you explain to them not to say that or what that means, they usually are like, all right, you're like, my bad, I didn't even know. So just give people grace. And if someone's being obviously straight to you like that, don't take disrespect. But at the same time, there's some people that are good people that, you just give them a little grace and say, hey, usually they'll be like, all right, cool. So just give people grace.
All right, cool. Well, that was episode 9. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is my last episode, so I appreciate everything you guys have given to me. I don't plan on talking to you. No, I'm joking. Check us out on, again, all the social media apps. Follow us, listen to us, comment, like. I don't know, tell us, do you want to say a nigga or not? Whatever. But we'll catch y'all next time, all right?